Next up, we've got Graham Borden. Graham, thank you very much for making yourself available. Always a pleasure to have you here and to listen to you. I've interviewed Graham a few times, and after the first time that I interviewed him, I realized that I have to get him onto stage to come and have a talk. So thank you very much for being here. Graham is Product and Strategy Director for PNC at Sapiens. And what I like about Graham so much is he's got a very strong marketing background in his history, and it comes through in the fact that he partners that less practical, technological with the technology. So, Graham, thank you very much. Look forward to your discussion.
Before I start, thank you so much on behalf of Sapiens for coming here today, spending the time with us and microphone. Really, really appreciate it. I know it's a big deal to take time out of your day. Second thing, no one told the organisers I started vertigo, so this is going to be like really interesting rest of the day. Got a long way up here. AI insurance, myth, reality, and a pathway forward. So that's the basis of what I'll talk about for the next 20 minutes. I need a volunteer to keep me on track on time. So when we get, I can't see a timer up here, right? This is Laura's going to tell me when I'm talking too much. It's a very complex presentation. I'm not going to lie to you about that. It's very, very technical, lots of diagrams, graphs and stuff. So I'll make sure you get a copy of it afterwards and you can go into some of the detail behind it. You can ask the questions about it later on as well. So complex presentation. This is you and your CEO. So the CEO and the CTO, or the Chief Information Officer, are sat in a room together, and the CEO goes, I want to make my company an AI-led organization. And he's made it your problem. And you sit there for a while in your organization, you go, hey, this is actually quite difficult. I don't know what I'm going to do here, but I have a good idea. I'm going to contact my mates at Microsoft, and I'm going to put Copilot into the organization, which you do. You put it into the organization, you're quite happy. After initial enthusiasm, maybe about 25% of the staff are using it. You've done a small proof of concept. It's all going really quite nicely. Lovely. CEO calls you back into the room again. He says, hey, dude, how's it going? I need some information to tell my board and my shareholders and my stakeholders about how well AI is performing in my organization, because we are an AI-led organization. Don't believe me, this isn't happening in your business because I read your report accounts. CTO then, oh dear, there. The CTO goes back, he has to give information, he goes, I don't really know what to do here, but he goes back into the CEO and the boss and says, hey, actually I've had a look around it, we've made ourselves 5% more productive as our organization by using some of these simple AI tools. And he goes to the CEO and he says this, the CEO goes, brilliant, I'm going to give you the budget to roll it out across the whole organization, across all the users in the company. So he does that, he goes out, he rolls it across everyone in the organization. Half the staff use it on a daily basis, everyone's quite happy. He gets called back in, right, I've given you all this money and all this attention. How is this performing for my business? The CTO is going, God, I don't really know what to say. Hey, yeah, it's brilliant. It's doing 5% across the whole business now. It's really, really good. I'm enjoying it. It's doing great stuff for us. CEO, yes, I've got a message from my board and my stakeholders. At some point, the CTO goes back into his little office and goes, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get found out. Because, guess what? No one can really unpick the values being created or play back to the investment case at the moment. As long as say you're doing something, you're probably going to get away with it for a while longer. Everyone's going to be more than happy. As long as they think you're doing something, this will give you enough time to figure out what that something is you should be doing. And that sounds so familiar. And I work with a lot of you. And it feels kind of true, that story. Because what's really, really important is just how deep this can go. And what we've got here, which you can't see at the back, is when I talk about AI insurance, I'm talking about AI insurance, I mean everything. And it's a bit of a gasp when you say that, when you think about the number of people they employ in the industry, in your company, what this actually makes. The application across insurance underwriting, claims, more importantly, prevention. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Right the way to fraud and fraud prevention, massive issue in South Africa at the minute you're beginning to solve, and we can see a way forward with it, through to the customer experience, the hyperscaling of personalization, pricing for one, and the portfolio and compliance side of it. You know, the exception-only actions we can take by surfacing what an exception looks like, right the way through to making this kind of more real-time dynamic analysis of your business as we're going. I think we alluded to this a moment ago, so I won't linger too much on it. That's the positive side. This is why your CEOs haven't actually pressed the AI button yet. So we're very excited about the potential and the reach, but we're also having to be very, very pragmatic and understand the bias, the fairness of what the machines are doing, understand the lack of explanation, making sure we're able to put the human loop all the way through it, understand from the consumer themselves, their privacy concerning, and all the things that go into how you feel about it. I call it the coffee test. How do you personally feel about this data being used with you or against you? And then long-term implementations of it. You know, this kind of growth in what I see as equalization, if that's the word. If everyone's using the same technology and the same data sets, guess what's going to happen? The same outcomes. It's kind of astonishing when you think of it like that. So we're very, very excited, and we're very, very pragmatic about it at the same time. And that's what's exciting about the Microsoft partnership that we're working with, is they can help us a lot on solving some of these issues for you. So this is what I'm going to talk about in the next 15 minutes. The AI future-driven insurance organization, looking to what I call looking to 2030. If I can give a vision for 2030 and go, this is the way I think the market's going to operate, this is how we can then work backwards to get to it. So nice way of looking at it. I am going to do a couple of case studies and just show you some screenshots because I want to get into our collective heads. This is real, this is current, this is now. It's not just like hype. And then this conclusion and some of the things we've discovered at Sapiens that help us look at it in terms of, all right, we need a pathway to go forward now. And so let's do this. What killed Johannesburg? I didn't know this when we were talking this morning when we had coffee. A fire has broken out at Nando's franchise. Not a serious fire, but it's enough to do damage. The Internet of Things and devices automatically trigger the notification to the fire trucks that come and put the fire out. At the same time, the IoT devices are triggering, and the insurance workflow is 2026. So you've deployed one of your brand new assessment drones to go to the site of the fire of the Nando's franchise. The drone turns up on site using a combination of LiDAR, thermal imaging, blah, 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 can actually understand and collect 1,000 million data points, which is sent back into your policy administration system that is decoded using natural language, understand the cost, the problems, and the damage the fire has caused. It can identify the right service provider with the right tools, information, understanding how to fix the damage caused by the fire. It's presented in your policy administration system in natural language. All those data points that come through are presented in natural language. You can then send this through to the consumer or the business owner who can accept it at a point of, just a simple click. I understand the work you're going to do to make my business good again. And then it goes back into the policy administration system. So the next price that you quote in real time actually has that claim in the system and it's running off that. What we're actually doing for the CEO and the leadership of the organization, some of you have heard this story before, you've just received the hourly P&L contract of the business because everything is in real time now. This is a big claim that's going to actually damage the performance of the organization. It's 2026, we have wearables and health, and we can monitor the heart condition of the executive. This is a problem. We can dispatch the ambulance. Really, really stupid story. But if you think about that story and how close we are to it, what have I just talked about? I've talked about embedded insurance at point of need. I've talked about machine learning or the AI and automated ethanol. No one's pressed the button to tell the insurance company there's a claim coming. It all happened automatically. The enablement of the supplier verification dispatch. No proof claim. At what point did I say that business owner was making a claim? Didn't. Parametric claim, everything's happening automatically. obviously the reserving, the technical accounting stuff happening in the background as well, right the way through to underwriting in real time too. And that's how close we are to this. And we're doing a lot of this already without the actual AI, the interpretation of it for us as well. So when I kind of look at this objectively, I go, this is actually very, very close to the capability we can achieve together. So if we can do it, is there a why? Why should we be doing it? Everything's happening quite nicely. Here's the South African insurance market. By the way, it's the same in the UK, so I know if you hear from the accent from the UK, I apologise about that, but this is largely factor of birth, my choice, I'll be here. The blue line is gross written premium from all the short-term insurance companies in South Africa, and the red line is the cost of operations, so the expenses. And if you look very, very carefully, they track each other in a precise one-to-one relationship. And I look at that and I go, congratulations, everybody. Where's the technology benefit? It's a bit of a gas moment, isn't it? Yeah, you do more work, you're just adding more people, more cost to it. So that relationship between growth and cost is one-to-one. Shameless advert, if you do want to see some of the results of working with some customers that break that cycle, happy to do it afterwards with you. Give you a couple of case studies, particularly from Australia. I've got customers there, and I know you love learning from Australians. It's from the African Reserve Bank. They're going to publish it in March. So that's just a link to it, so you can actually go and have a look at that information yourself, because it is important when we start to talk about some of these tools, techniques we're doing, we can drive a business case and build business value into the organisation. So a couple of things there. Second one is insurance penetration rates. So why should we use technology to do something? Everything's happy. The short-term penetration rate in South Africa has hovered around the 12-13% mark. It hasn't moved in decades. You can see the uptick between 24 to 25. This is largely insurance policies. Insurance policies, of course it is. This is largely funeral insurance policies that's driving that growth. But actually, we're not moving the dial significantly. So I see societal benefits of us understanding how the technology can drive cost out of the business, so we can make insurance affordable for people. Really, really simple. It's a really nice way of looking at it. And then the second graph at the bottom, just to give you a kind of macro picture feel to this, is commissions paid to brokers. And we're still suffering a little bit in the data from lockdown and COVID. But you can see the long-term trend is downwards. Now I look at that and go, if the long-term trend downward is on commission payments to brokers, that means the market's changing. That means more and more people are going direct. That means there's more direct business, there's more online business. This is a proxy for digitalization and how consumers are buying insurance policies. So I add all those kind of three slides together and I go, you know what, this feels like a changing market. And you probably feel it more than I do, but it really, really does feel like there's a load of opportunity here and there's motivation for us to use these technologies. Insurance 2030, I talked about this. I will skim over it in the interest of time. But if I look at Insurance 2030, I'll look into the future, 5 years ahead of ourselves, what's the big impact? And climate risk becomes the biggest factor. I think we all know that more than here. More than anywhere else in the world, with the number of floods and things that are happening. So we understand that climate's going to become the number one risk factor, particularly in commercial. We understand there's kind of opportunities in front of us for hyper-personalised cover rather than product, or hyper-personalised pricing. And then we understand that, like I showed you that little stupid story at the start, AI can actually run most operational tasks. That allows us as insurance to start looking at the data and looking more at prevention, and then the distribution of insurance product is likely to change as well. We can see a lot of that, maybe insurance disappears into the background and we're just buying it as part of the product service like we do, maybe on motor, maybe on travel, that kind of thing just going right the way through. So it'd be interesting to see, just how deep this embedded insurance goes. That's my kind of summary, what insurance 2030 looks like, and it gives us the opportunity to think about insurance is no longer a paperwork-based business, or paper-based claims business. It becomes data, it becomes prediction, it becomes prevention. Insurers shift from paying when things happen to helping customers prevent it from happening in the first place. We've talked about that before over the years, but now we can surface the data and we're seeing it. Guess what? We can do something about it. What does that mean for us? We look more like a tech-enabled risk advisor than a traditional insurance company. We win by using more data ethically than anyone else's. We have access to so much. We can do so much with it. We win by adopting automation and AI early. That leads back to the penetration rate in South Africa and what we can do to bring that penetration rate up. And we win by adopting to the climate reality. And then point number 5, probably the most important bit, the customer experience maybe is finally good. That's the opportunity in front of us over the next 5 years. I want to focus a little bit on this AI one's operational tasks. On the right-hand side there, you've got the different levels of AI technologies and combinations of the technologies you can review later. The dotted line is where I give up. Hopefully when that happens, it'll be old by then. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a kind of feel for that as well. Making it real. So that's the operational task. 5 quick screenshots just to show you how the software is adapting now and how pervasive this is going to get. And then if I say to you, this is how cool the software is getting, you have to start thinking about the process enablement of the company as you look to implement it. Not just our software. I think most software is heading this direction. You all know this because you buy it. And the first one is, just think about this scenario here as a small, medium business going through a broker or an agent. All we're asking you to do now is to type the business name in. 9 times out of 10 it's enough, but if you need a secondary piece of information, you might add the zip code or the postcode. And from that, we can start to use the AI to surface everything you need to know about that organization by going out and enriching the data with 5 to 6 data providers, making it available all on one screen. And guess what? If it's all in one screen in one place, we can then start to do predictive modeling around the customer lifetime and the buying propensity, how much time she can invest in it. A co-sales agent, let's call it, because all this information is being surfaced to your broker to help service that client better. Right the way through to focus more on the cover rather than the product itself. We've suggested cover levels, we've suggested covers that businesses just like that are using. From 2 bits of information. When we look at another scenario here is you've got a customer and you don't know what to do with it, so you're just literally typing into it, I'm going to see this organization, this business, what renewal strategy for coverage should I think about? And then the AI is actually structuring it, pointing out the covers that everyone else is taking, and then rendering the screen on the right-hand side to surface that information. So you get your kind of renewal strategy and business development strategy from one click. Kind of cool. What have I got on today? Task management. What have I surfaced? All the different inbound things that have come into. What are the 3 or 4 most important criteria I should be working on? Which tasks do I tackle first based on value or based on likelihood of closing the business? So all these different things, we're harnessing all the technology to help someone sell better. Lastly, complex risk management, underwriting workbenches, all the data that goes into it. How do we assess the portfolio impact of what we're writing? So really, really quick summary, but I just wanted to talk to you about that, just to show you that it's actually happening now and it's real. It's not just like a Gartner hype cycle thing. This is stuff we're actively working on in the software. Claims, true story. That's what's funny. I have to be a bit respectful about how I tell it. And health claims for cancer, so nice cheery start in the morning. We did a project for one of the big Swedish insurance companies. And what we did was we took the intake from the healthcare professionals, the PDFs, digitalized it, natural language summary for the people of the treatment codes, etc., 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 using a combination of business rules and a combination of the kind of value vector of it as well. We checked if the patient was covered, secondary treatment that could be, the policy terms are verified, the deductibles, the limits, blah, 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 the payment schedule. Oh, and we could pay the guy in extra real time as well. And that was across 168,000 healthcare treatment codes, ICD codes, 168,000. And I'm like, this is so cool. So around the time we did this proof of concept, which ended in November, two people realized the same thing. Number one, I'm here on this side going, go Sapiens. I've made that claims department super effective, super efficient. I've automated everything. I've got happy end customer, the claimant, really, really cool. And then on the right-hand side, the person I was working with who runs the claims department is going, oh my God, this guy's just decimating my career. I started to think about that and I go, this is a real problem because this is turkeys voting for Christmas now because we have to bring these people on board with us and show them what's going on. And I just wanted to give that as an indication of what's going on in the claims world because it is proper transformation. It's a proper transformation story. And if we don't bring the people on, what chance have I got of them helping us in the future? Because they stop. They stop at a co-agent. They stop about the natural language interpretation of the claim because they don't want to go any further because that's their career gone. So we have to soften and communicate the way we talk about it a little bit differently. And just looking at claims in the future, this is probably the most important slide I've got today. So we think about the tokenization of the task. So we've got a water claim that's come in, it's stapled water, whatever we want to call it. We've got agent number one assessing the claim information and structure again, agent two, looking at the coverage, making sure it matches the policy, the cover, blah, blah, blah. So we have these kind of concepts of little agents that run across the software, and each one of them does a task. And then long term, what I think will happen is we'll start tokenization that task, and we'll be charging, $1 to structure the claim, $4 to determine the cover, $5 to look at the risk assessment, $6 to synthesize all the findings to recommend the payment structure, and then $1 to actually make the payment and do things as well. So we're paying on a task-by-task basis rather than here's just a policy information or a claim software system. And I think that's where we're going to be heading to over the next 5 or 6 years. Because then you can start to predict the cost of the software a lot more. So it's a really interesting way to think about it. And obviously at any point, if the AI agent decides it's actually going to be really, really expensive to cover and all that, you can transfer this across to the human, so to the human in the loop there. So I've showed you a couple of screenshots there at the start of things that we're doing, which is all around helping the agent. And now when I take a step back and look at roadmap now for the rest of the year, it's now focusing on the decision, not the dashboard. So we've got the dashboard, we understand how we present information to the users. Now I want to focus on the decision-making basis of it. And that's a really nice way of looking at, kind of what the software industry is looking at the moment. I'm going to finish now. And I wanted to kind of calm everybody down a bit. I know there's some scary concepts that are ahead of us over the next 3 to 4 years for sure. I went down to London before Christmas time and I had to do a roundtable discussion with these organisations. I don't know if you recognise any of them. Marsh, Aon, Merkel. They have R&D budgets bigger than your insurance company, right? Off the planet. And we had to do an AI workshop with them, and marketing asked me to go and lead this. We had a really, really nice day, but my initial reaction was, I don't want to do this, because they're all the biggest companies in the world. I just explained it Tin Can. This is with Gary. It's an advert I saw from South Africa 2 years ago. It's for cough, which was my reaction about going in front of those organisations. But once we got through that, this is what we got them to talk about and what we actually got them to acknowledge, because they all come on and introduce themselves and how important the world is and what they're working on. But what we actually found out is most of the stuff they were working on was internally focused. Made sense. They didn't want to expose any of it to their customers, their clients. 90% of the proof of concepts didn't go anywhere. Kind of like that health thing I showed you. They didn't bring the people along to it. A couple of IT guys looking like a science project or something, but they weren't bringing the people in the organisation along on the journey with them. And point number 3, it's only as good as our data. Oh my God, we'll come back to that again. And then, particularly on the underwriting staff, on the underwriting, they got down who they were using stuff side tool or side desk, they call it, which they're not quite sure what they're doing. But they're effectively going onto their own subscription for services and doing their own thing. Compliance nightmare. That's what we got out of them. So these big organisations, big global organisations, that's what they're concerned with. And when I got to that point, I'm like, I'm going to share this with people because it will help us calm down a little bit. And it also kind of made me think about learning together, which is the point of today, and some of the roundtable stuff we'll do a bit later on. A really nice story there. Pathway. Pathway. We've actually been here before, and we don't know we've been here before. But do you remember the hype around driverless cars? I've even got an article there from Victoria News back in 2012 or whenever it was. This liability shift that's going to transform motor insurance, transform fleet insurance in the commercial phase, because the cost is going to move from the driver or the business is going to move into the vehicle itself. And oh my God, there's going to be no accidents. So what's that going to do to insurance companies? And oh my God, there's a smaller vehicle part which we don't need it, so therefore we're not going to be insuring so many customers. Blah blah blah. You saw the impact coming down, and it's we're all going to be out of jobs soon because of autonomous driving, autonomous vehicles, autonomous fleet. But it never happened, and here we are 12 years later. But what they did do is they talked about the 5 levels of vehicle automation, from level 0, which is just like the bog standard cars, to level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going through the various driving assistance capabilities that are there. And it's a really nice way to take that lesson and start saying, actually, we can soften the communication part of our business, because we're going to talk about this transformation or this evolution from level 0, which in fairness a lot of us are at, where it's just 100% manual processing of tasks, call centers, etc., etc. We're going to take that to level 1, where we're automating a lot of the core intakes and a lot of the core information, summarizing this, but the user always can control the flow of it. Right the way through to level 2, level 3, where it's surfacing exceptions. People can still intervene when they need to. For known product lines, no one's touching it. Things like travel, maybe motors to some degree, 100% touchless across the business, including claims. And then level 4, which I don't think we'll ever get to, where it's just the machine programming out by itself. But look what I've done there. I've just softened it into a strategy for you and softened it into a kind of like direction rather than this big, hey, let's just jump into the use case. Because we did that. And this is the pathway, and this is what I call the AI strategy, is actually a data strategy. We all understand the use case, and we all went charging into them. And what we didn't do is we didn't think about how we get our data into position. We have data lakes, we talk about these all the time. We didn't actually think about this data readiness. And then we didn't think about, well, now we understand we've got the data inside our organization. Us get that can't do anything with it. So I say, get step 1, step 2 organizing your companies first, then move on to the use cases. And the use cases run around, understand where you want to be. Some of that vision thing, leading through to getting your employees on slide, and then blueprinting it, understanding the true value. So you can take these use cases and go, actually, these 2 or 3 are the most valuable one for us in our organization. This is where I'm going to focus. The rest is just noise. It starts to make sense a little bit for us. Last slide. Called it Get Excited. So I'm excited by it. Going back to that kind of 5 levels of automation or 5 levels of the use of AI in insurance, there's a pretty kind of like colorful graphic of where I think our customers are at. If I look across all of the Sapiens customers that I work with, level 0, manual, basic, emerging, advanced, full, let's call it. And what I want to just get into here, we understand the use cases. Don't look at the color coding of it, look at the white space. It's a really nice way of thinking about it. Look how much space we have to grow into it. And that's motivational for us. That's motivational for us to attend these conferences and have these conversations together. Because we're going to focus on the white space, because that makes it exciting to work at insurance companies at the moment. And that's the last little bit of the message I want to leave you with. We'll leave this up. We've got like a little study that marketing and product marketing did on the South African insurance sector. We went out and interviewed, I think there were 70 different insurance companies. So you can see where your peer group's mindsets are at. And so that report's available to drop down. Last word, thank you so much for your time, attention. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it starts to get us thinking about what we're going to discuss this afternoon in the roundtables and the opportunity ahead of us. Thank you so much.